Hey gang, a few years ago I was driving to Dickinson from Bismarck on I-94 and I saw this structure in the distance. The closer I got, the bigger it got, and I knew I needed to check it out. Little did I know that I was about to be introduced to the Enchanted Highway. Back then I didn't have enough time to drive the 32-mile stretch that makes up the Enchanted Highway, but I do today, so let's take a look at it. It all starts at exit 72. This sculpture is called Geese in Flight. It's 110 feet tall, 154 feet wide, and weighs 157,659 pounds. In 2002, the Guinness Book of World Records deemed this the world's largest metal sculpture. Seriously, you can see this work of art for miles down the road. On the drive leading into Geese in Flight, you're going to drive past hundreds of these wonderful little geese lining either side of the road. Geese in Flight is cool when you see it from a distance, but awe-inspiring when you get up close to it. It's also a great backdrop for a selfie. There are 7 huge sculptures that make up the Enchanted Highway, so let's start heading down the road to the next one. And while we're on the way, I want to tell you a little bit about the history of the Enchanted Highway and how it came to be. Here we are at sculpture number 2. It's called Deer Crossing. Yeah, I wonder why. This was made primarily from oil well tanks. The buck is 60 feet long and 75 feet tall, while the doe is a petite 50 feet long and 50 feet tall. This sculpture went up in 2002. And stick around to the end of this video, because when we get to the end of the Enchanted Highway, there's something really cool and really remarkable waiting for us that you will not want to miss. Right next to Deer Crossing, there's a metal maze that's fun for the whole family, and I really like the Art Deco vibe. Let me take you on a speeded up trip through the maze. It's a bit of a drive to the next sculpture, so let me share some amazing facts about the Enchanted Highway while we're on the road. First of all of these huge sculptures were created by one man. His name is Gary Greff, and if his story isn't inspirational, I don't know what is. In the late 1980s, Gary saw that his small town of Regent, North Dakota was dying. Regent wasn't really close to much of anything. In fact, it was over 30 miles from the nearest major highway. So Gary had this crazy idea to build a series of huge sculptures to lead people to Regent. He taught himself how to weld and got to work on the Enchanted Highway. And I have to tell you, I love that spirit. I love that attitude. Kudos to you, Gary. Sculpture number 3 is called Grasshoppers in the Field. It was installed in 1999. More oil well tanks as well as some fuel tanks were used to create these pieces. The big grasshopper is 60 feet long and 40 feet tall. The medium grasshopper is a mere 24 feet long and 12 feet tall. You really don't get a feeling of just how massive these pieces are until you're standing next to them or under them. This is absolutely amazing. Now, while the grasshoppers are the focal point of this display, I also want to show you these meadow plants. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be native grasses or weeds or wheat, but these are such nice complementary pieces to the grasshoppers. Before we go on to the next sculpture, I want to show you just how wonderful the outer area is. I think that most, if not all, of these sculptures on the Enchanted Highway have great parking areas as well as picnic tables. Some even have play areas or activities for the kids. Now it's back onto the Enchanted Highway to go 5 miles south to Fisherman's Dream. I think this is my favorite one because there's just so much going on here. In case you haven't figured it out, well, that blue wavy part up there symbolizes the surface of the lake. It's 50 feet above the ground. The rainbow trout leaping out of the water is 70 feet long. You'll also find northern pike, bluegill, and walleye here. I also recognize a catfish and lots of lake vegetation. Just a side note, I visited the Enchanted Highway in early June, and let's just say that the local mosquitoes were very happy to see me. If you're in the area, it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring some mosquito repellent with you. Although this is probably my favorite of the sculptures, it's also the one in most need of repair. Underneath most of the fish, you can see piles of scales just waiting to be reattached by Gary. So I've told you a little bit about Gary Greff and how this was his idea, his dream, and that he created all of these wonderful sculptures himself, but get ready to be even more impressed by Gary. Not only did Gary design and build these incredible works of art, but he also does his best to maintain them. If something gets damaged in a storm or needs a new coat of paint, Gary does it. But wait, there's more. He also cuts the grass and built the parking areas and fences. I can't tell you just how much I admire that passion, that devotion, that sense of work ethic. Man, Gary Greff is my hero. All right, just down the road from Fisherman's Dream is Pheasants on the Prairie. I've driven the back roads of North and South Dakota quite a bit, and I'm sad to say that I've hit a pheasant or two while driving, and trust me, when you hit a pheasant, it sounds like they're about this size. Now, before I get all of the animal lovers getting all fired up in the comments section, I want to make it clear that I did not hit the pheasants on purpose, but I do want to say this to all of the pheasants and other birds that may be watching. Birds, you have the entire sky. Give me and my car the bottom 6 feet. That's all I ask. We have a rooster, a hen, and a few chicks here. The rooster is 70 feet long, 40 feet tall, while the hen is 60 feet long and 35 feet tall. The chicks are 20 feet long and 15 feet tall. Gary used pipe and wire mesh to build the pheasants. And of course. There are a few plants here too, and it looks like those are all made out of pipes. Something I think is really cool about these sculptures is that you can get right next to them or even under them. They aren't locked away behind a fence or in some other way untouchable. I think these are fantastic. Now here's another interesting fact. Gary Greff did not get paid to create these sculptures. In fact, he bought all of the materials and leases the land from the farmers. It wasn't until 2019 that the state of North Dakota decided to give Gary a little money to help cover the maintenance. Otherwise, Gary relies on donations of cash and materials. This really is a labor of love for Gary. We've got a few more sculptures to visit, and then wait till you see what we have at the end of the Enchanted Highway. You are not gonna believe it. Now, one thing I've noticed about Gary's sculptures on the Enchanted Highway is that the sculpture styles are all very different. Look at the next installment. Very different from all the others. It's a tribute to Teddy Roosevelt, and it's called Teddy Rides Again. 51 feet tall and made out of well pipe. Now, I don't know if this was intended or not, but if you look right under the horse's hindquarters, you're going to find a little pile of something. Coincidence? You decide. Now, while the site does have a picnic table, it does not have a covered area, but it does have something that is very unique, a stagecoach for the kids to play in, and the stage looks like it's seen better days. By the way, if you dig quirky things like this, like I do, make sure that you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel. I travel all over the place, and I absolutely love visiting weird, kitschy, obscure, and fun places. If you hit the bell, you're going to be notified every time I upload a new video. And I've got some fun ones coming up, like Dinosaur Park in Rapid City, the world's largest Bigfoot, the National Buffalo Museum, and feeding time for the T-Rex at Wall Drug. The last sculpture on the Enchanted Highway is actually the first sculpture that Gary did. It's the Tin Family. Now, I have to admit, my first impression when I saw this was, wow, those are the biggest Legos I've ever seen. But no, definitely not Legos. These were made from farm tanks, telephone poles, barbed wire, and augers. Tin Dad is 45 feet tall, Tin Mom is 44 feet tall, I love the flowers by the way, and Tin Kid is 23 feet tall. The family was put here in 1991 and is billed as the world's largest tin family. All right, gang, we're just over a mile from Regent, North Dakota. If you're still watching the video, get ready to discover something really wonderful. When the school in Regent, North Dakota closed down, Gary bought the building with the intention of turning it into a hotel. Now, based on the sculptures you've seen so far, do you think this was going to be your normal small-town roadside hotel? Not a chance. Are you ready for this? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, at the end of the Enchanted Highway, the Enchanted Castle Hotel and Restaurant. The signs promise that you'll be treated like royalty, and right in front of the Enchanted Castle is a huge knight doing battle with a dragon. While I didn't get a chance to stay or eat at the Enchanted Castle Hotel, I did find this motorized sculpture just as you enter Regent. Press the button, and this whole thing clanks to life. across the street there are museums and gift shops, but unfortunately I arrived in town a little bit late and the gift shop was closed. So if you plan on being in western North Dakota, give yourself a few extra hours and take exit 72 on I-94 and head south to Regent. The Enchanted Highway is wonderful. It's amazing, it's inspiring, and it's enchanted. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you on the back roads.